Have you ever seen someone walk into a room and, without saying a word, shift the entire atmosphere? What if I told you that kind of presence has nothing to do with looks, status, or luck, and everything to do with mindset? And what if the mindset that commands that kind of energy is one you can train, build, and master, starting today? Do you ever wonder why some people walk into a room and command attention without uttering a single word? It's not charisma. It's not some mystical gift, and it's definitely not luck. It's mindset, sharpened through repetition, strengthened through deliberate action, rooted in an unshakable belief in oneself. The Stoics taught this long ago. Your inner world dictates your outer impact. Your internal state carves the reality you walk through, just like a sculptor turns raw, formless marble into a breathtaking statue, with patience, with precision, with vision. Now imagine this. What if you walked into every situation with the quiet certainty of someone who's already faced the battle and won? As if every challenge ahead was just another rung on the ladder. Not something to fear, but something to climb. Not something to dread, but something to dominate. What if, instead of waiting for confidence to magically arrive, you decided to act like it already lived in your bones? Not from arrogance, but from alignment. Not because you're faking it, but because you're forging it. Confidence is not wishful thinking. It's not a talent some are born with. It's a result crafted moment by moment through consistent effort and deliberate choices. The Stoics would call this act as if. Not to deceive, but to develop. To move in the direction of your highest self before the world gives you permission. You build momentum this way, and momentum once created becomes almost impossible to stop. That's what happens when you train your mind through intentional action. Confidence begins as a flicker, a spark. It's small, uncertain, fragile. But each time you choose courage, it grows stronger. Each time you move despite fear, it burns brighter. Soon that flicker becomes a flame. And that flame, it becomes your compass. The Stoics remind us, waiting for the perfect moment is a fool's game. Standing still under a stormy sky, hoping it clears, wastes the opportunity to dance in the rain. Because life will never hand you perfect conditions. It gives you unpredictability and asks, what will you do with it? We cannot control the wind, we cannot predict every wave, but we can master our sails. We can control our response. So ask yourself, what would change if you stopped hesitating and started walking into every room, every challenge, every moment, like you already belong there? This isn't about pretending to be something you're not. It's about awakening the version of you that's already waiting, just beneath hesitation, the version of you who steps forward even when the path isn't fully clear. Confidence isn't born in one moment of boldness. It's carved over time, decision by decision, like a river shaping stone through persistence, not power. Picture a mountaineer ascending a steep, icy peak. They don't wait for the sun to shine. They don't look for smooth trails. They move forward, step by step, focused, deliberate, determined. Because they know progress comes not from clarity, but from resolve. The Stoics understood this. They never glorified perfection. They glorified persistence. They believed in showing up daily, especially when it's hard, especially when no one's watching, especially when fear whispers, not yet. Confidence is like a fire. It begins with a spark, easily extinguished, but with attention, care, and constant fuel, it becomes something unshakable. It becomes light in the storm, warmth in the cold, a guide when everything else is uncertain. So if you've been waiting for the perfect time to feel confident, hear this. That time is now. Confidence isn't something you wait for. It's something you decide. It's something you build every time you take a step in faith, not fear. And once it's built, it doesn't fade. It becomes part of you. In the next part, we'll dive deeper into how you can keep this flame burning, how to turn resistance into fuel, and how to make every obstacle a catalyst for mastery. You remember the flame we sparked, the one called confidence? It doesn't grow by waiting. It grows by acting, especially when fear lingers in the background. The Stoics believed that within every one of us lies a quiet strength, waiting not to be discovered, but to be nurtured. They taught that we must act not as who we hope to become someday, but as if we already carry the strength today, even when doubt whispers that it means staring directly at it, naming it, acknowledging it, and then choosing to move forward anyway. Every single time you do that, every time you act while fear is still present, you feed the flame. That tiny spark of confidence begins to roar. You turn hesitation into movement, fear into momentum, and self-doubt into quiet determination. So the question is, how will you act today? Will you wait, hoping confidence shows up like a guest you're not sure will arrive? Or will you take the first step, and then another, until confidence has no choice but to catch up? The Stoics didn't ask us to perform heroic acts overnight. They asked us to be consistent, to choose wisely, to build greatness through the repetition of small, steady choices. Because that's where real transformation happens, not in explosive leaps, but in daily steps. So choose today. Choose to act as if you're already capable. Choose to face challenges not with noise or bravado, but with a quiet inner confidence, the kind that doesn't need to prove itself. Confidence, after all, isn't something we stumble upon. It's something we build, brick by brick, decision by decision. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic minds, lived with that truth stitched into his very being. He constantly reminded himself of how fleeting life is, and that fleeting nature, it wasn't something to fear. It was something to ignite purpose. Life, he believed, is like a passing breeze. You can either freeze, waiting for the perfect gust to lift you, or you can spread your wings and let every breath of wind carry you forward. There's no perfect moment coming, no divine signal that now is finally the time. Time doesn't wait for your hesitation. It doesn't slow down for your indecision. It keeps moving, with or without you. And when you finally choose to act like the person you're striving to become, you won't need to scream about it. You won't need to convince anyone. Because your actions, quiet, steady, intentional, will speak more loudly than any declaration ever could. Think about today's elite athletes. Before they ever step foot on the field, they've already won the game in their minds. They visualize every move, they rehearse every victory, and they prepare for every setback. That mental rehearsal? It's no accident. Even without the advanced tools of modern psychology, the Stoics understood this. They knew that excellence begins internally, that preparation creates power, that when you rehearse in your mind, your body begins to follow with precision. To live boldly, Marcus believed, is to confront your mortality, not with dread, but with clarity. To remember, as he wrote, you could leave life right now, and that sobering truth. It's not meant to make you afraid. It's meant to awaken you. It's meant to remind you to live courageously, not tomorrow, not next month, but now. To step into this very day as if it holds the weight of eternity, because, in a way, it does. There's no time for timidity, no room for delay, only the urgency to act like you already are the person you hope to become. And yet, acting as if doesn't mean pretending to be flawless. It doesn't mean faking confidence or burying your flaws. The Stoics were far too practical for that. They didn't chase perfection. They embraced honesty. They believed in seeing ourselves clearly, acknowledging every crack, every weakness, and still choosing to rise anyway. Imagine life as a massive canvas. Each day, each decision, each action is a brushstroke. Some will be messy, some will be bold, some might feel like mistakes, but together they form the masterpiece, not in spite of imperfection, but because of it. Now think again of that athlete. They don't just see the highlight reel, they prepare for the missed shots, the stumbles, the bruises, because failure isn't the enemy, it's part of the training. The Stoics would say, it's the striving that shapes you, not the outcome, not the praise, not the perfection, but the persistence. Greatness isn't earned by avoiding failure, it's earned by showing up again and again despite it. So remember, you are not sculpted by the moment. And every time you act as if, you take one more step toward the version of you you were born to become. We ended the last page with a truth the Stoics lived by. Greatness isn't born from perfection, but from persistent, intentional action, especially in the face of fear. Now, let's take that wisdom one step deeper. Marcus Aurelius didn't just speak of living boldly. He spoke of inhabiting the present moment with your full being. He taught that the fleeting nature of life isn't meant to fill us with panic, but to awaken us, to inspire presence. Think about a sunset. It captures our attention not just because of its beauty, but because we know it won't last. We cherish those golden hues precisely because they fade. Life is no different. Its brevity is what gives it weight. And instead of waiting for confidence to appear, the Stoics would urge us, step forward, step boldly, even if you feel unsure. Because every moment you hesitate is a moment that disappears, a brushstroke left off your canvas, a story left untold. Confidence, like any other virtue, is a practice, a skill forged through repeated action. It grows not by waiting until you feel ready, but by doing the thing anyway, especially when you don't. Marcus taught that transformation is found in the doing, not in the hoping, not in the waiting, but in the bold act of stepping into who you wish to become. And this principle becomes even more vital when life feels uncertain, because life will never be fully predictable. The Stoics knew that. Uncertainty isn't the enemy, it's the backdrop of the human experience. Picture life as a wide, ever-shifting landscape. You can wait forever, hoping the terrain becomes familiar, or you can take the first step and begin to learn as you go. Every misstep teaches, every forward motion builds. When you act as if you're already the version of yourself you admire, you start to close the distance between who you are and who you were born to be. Stoicism doesn't promise a finish line called greatness. It invites you into a continual unfolding, a process defined not by arrival but by daily, deliberate action. And what stands in the way for most? One simple thing: fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear that you're just not enough. But what did the Stoics say? They'd tell you, those fears, they're not real obstacles, they're illusions. Shadows cast by your own interpretations. Epictetus, once a slave and later a master of the mind, taught this with clarity. It's not the things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about those things. Let that settle in. It's not the challenge that defeats you. It's the story you tell yourself about it. It's not the rejection that breaks you. It's the meaning you attach to it. Epictetus compared fear to a passing cloud. It may seem huge, looming and dark, but it drifts away, losing form, losing power, only if you let it. He urged us to see fear clearly, to understand it not as an enemy, but as a companion to growth. Think of fear like a dog barking behind a fence. It makes noise, it paces, it tries to startle you, but it can't touch you. Not unless you believe it can, not unless you stop moving. And every time you choose to move forward, despite the barking, you take back the power fear once claimed. You strengthen your resolve. You remind yourself, I am not defined by what scares me. I am shaped by how I respond. And here's something the Stoics knew that modern science now echoes. Fear thrives on attention. The more you focus on it, the larger it grows. It casts longer, darker shadows. But if you meet fear with calm awareness, if you simply accept its presence without feeding it, it begins to lose its grip. Imagine standing on the edge of a diving board. Your heart pounds, your mind screams with what-ifs. But then you leap. And what happens? The fear vanishes, replaced by exhilaration, by freedom, by the realization that the story you told yourself wasn't real. That's what the Stoics understood. Fear is strongest right before the moment of action. But once you move, once you take that leap, fear dissolves into nothing but air. Epictetus would say this: courage is not the absence of fear, it's the decision to act anyway. So when you choose to act as if you are strong, and even today, modern Stoic thinkers like Massimo Pigliucci continue this message. They remind us, fear is normal, it's natural, but it doesn't have to be a limiting force. You can choose to reframe it, to see fear not as a stop sign, but as a signal that growth is nearby, that you're standing at the threshold of a breakthrough, because the presence of fear doesn't mean you're weak, it means you're human. And how you respond to that fear, that's where your strength is forged. We've just seen how facing fear head-on and choosing to act in spite of it becomes a gateway to freedom. Now we step into the transformation that happens when you walk that path consistently, when you act as if you are already the person you're becoming. That moment when you choose to step outside your comfort zone, that's where growth begins. Each time you choose action over hesitation, something powerful happens. You don't just move your body, you rewire your brain. You carve new neural pathways of strength, of certainty, of resilience. Picture a dense forest, untouched, thick with resistance. At first, the trail is unclear, every step is a struggle, but as you keep walking, the branches part, the ground flattens. a path begins to form. And that path? It's the path of confidence, the path of becoming. Every time you walk it, despite fear, despite doubt, you make it easier to walk again. That's the transformation. You go from forcing bravery to embodying it. Modern Stoic thinkers like Massimo Pigliucci echo this ancient wisdom with renewed clarity. He reminds us, acting as if you are the best isn't about arrogance, it's about alignment, aligning your actions with your values, holding integrity even when no one's watching, choosing the right thing even when it's the hard thing. This kind of strength doesn't shout, it doesn't demand a stage. It grows silently, like the roots of a mighty oak spreading underground, unseen, but essential. When you live in this quiet strength, when your actions echo your principles, you develop a magnetic presence. Not because you're flashy or loud, but because you're real. People will feel it. They'll be drawn not to your words, but to your poise, your purpose, your unwavering energy. And it's not about being fearless. It's about being consistent. It's about being grounded, especially when everything around you is uncertain. Imagine this. You're walking through a heavy fog. You can't see the road ahead. But with each step, your trust deepens. You no longer rely on the view. You rely on your inner compass. That's what Stoicism teaches. Trust your process. Even when the path is unclear, even when you doubt your direction, every step you take, even the shaky ones, builds something solid inside you, resilience. It's not the absence of confusion that makes you powerful, it's your willingness to walk through it. Think of a lighthouse standing tall against a raging sea. Waves crash, winds howl, but the light remains steady, unmoved, unshaken. That's you. When you live with conviction, when your actions reflect your values, when your strength doesn't come from approval, but from the purpose that lives within. This is what the Stoics meant by self-mastery. It's not about grand gestures, it's about small, consistent actions, repeated daily with intention. Each one is like a single drop of water falling onto stone. It might seem insignificant at first, but over time, drop by drop, it shapes the rock. It changes the surface. It transforms what once seemed unchangeable. This is how greatness is built, not all at once, but through deliberate, disciplined motion. And here's something even more profound. To act as if you are the best doesn't mean pretending to be perfect. It means showing up, fully human, flaws and all, and still choosing to move forward. The Stoics never demanded flawlessness. They encouraged honest progress. Massimo Pigliucci expands on this idea beautifully. He says that living by your values means recognizing that detours, mistakes, and setbacks aren't failures. They're part of the journey. They're part of the refinement. Imagine a traveler lost in an unfamiliar forest. He's disoriented, but he doesn't stop. He doesn't collapse. He moves forward. Not that compass? That's your integrity, your values, your inner truth. Even if the road curves, even if the sky goes dark, even if fear whispers turn back, you keep walking. Because you're not guided by fear, you're guided by something deeper. Your journey isn't powered by perfection, it's anchored in personal integrity. Even when the path curves in ways you didn't expect, it's that inner compass rooted in your values that keeps you moving forward. It guides you when doubt whispers, it leads you when the road ahead is unclear, and it strengthens you to act as if you're already capable, even when you don't fully feel it yet. So the question becomes, how do you live this mindset practically every day? You start small. You begin by clearly defining the values you hold most sacred: courage, discipline, perseverance. And then, step by step, choice by choice, you align your behavior with those values, not for applause, not for status, but because living in alignment with who you truly are is what creates lasting confidence. It's not about instant results. You might not see transformation right away, but over time your consistent efforts, the tiny decisions no one sees, build something unshakable. This is the essence of Stoic philosophy. True mastery, they teach us, is not some dramatic moment of triumph. It's a slow, deliberate, almost invisible process. Like waves smoothing the edge of a rocky shore, like wind carving the face of a mountain over years. Your consistent action sculpts you into the best version of yourself. And here's a question that sharpens the path. What would the best version of you do right now? Would that version procrastinate or take initiative? Would they complain or look for a solution? Would they retreat in fear or step forward with quiet conviction? This is the kind of moral clarity the Stoics held dear. Epictetus once said, "Well-being is realized by small steps, but it is no small thing. Each moment is a chance. Each decision you make either reinforces your future self or weakens it. There is no neutral action. Every choice either builds or dismantles. So choose wisely, and when you stumble, and you will, remember this. Setbacks aren't failure. They're the training ground." The Stoics didn't shrink back from difficulty. They expected it. They even welcomed it. Marcus Aurelius declared, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." That's not just philosophy. That's resilience embodied. So think of life like a river meeting a boulder in its path. It doesn't stop, it doesn't curse the stone, it flows around it, over it, through it, and over time. That same river carves the very rock that once blocked it. Persistence reshapes resistance. This is how the Stoic lives, not by avoiding hardship, but by embracing it, not as punishment, but as purpose. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and you start asking, "What strength is this building in me?" That shift changes everything. Resistance becomes your weight room, the strain becomes your teacher, and each hardship becomes a hammer that sculpts something deeper within you. Think of physical training, lifting a weight. It's the very pressure, the heaviness that strengthens your muscles. Without it, you don't grow. So it is with life. When you face difficulties head-on, with integrity and commitment to your values, you develop strength that can't be faked. You become more than someone who reacts. You become someone who leads. And that leadership, it begins with yourself. Anyone can hold their ground when the road is smooth. But when it gets rough, when the winds howl and the doubts rise, that's when your true character is revealed. Picture a sculptor standing before a raw block of marble. With each strike of the chisel, a form begins to emerge. It's not perfection, it's refinement. Every hit removes what's not essential, slowly revealing what was already hidden within. This is you. Every challenge chips away at what's unnecessary, self-doubt, excuses, ego. What's left? A clearer, stronger, truer version of you. The Stoics would urge you to meet these moments not with dread, but with gratitude, because they setbacks are temporary, but the strength, the wisdom, and the humility they produce, those stay with you. They become part of your legacy. They make you someone others look to, not because you boast, but because your resilience speaks for itself. So as you move forward, carry this with you. The obstacle is not your enemy. It's your entrance into greatness. When you embrace the struggle, you don't just grow, you inspire. You become someone others watch, not because you demand their attention, but because your life quietly teaches what courage really looks like. Just like a river doesn't flow only for itself, it carves its way forward while inspiring everything it touches. Its persistence, its grace, and its quiet strength become a symbol. A sign that progress isn't about brute force. It's about movement with intention. And so it is with you. When you act as if you are the best, you're not claiming to have all the answers. You're not pretending to know everything. You're simply showing up, ready to learn, willing to grow, and open to the unknown. Socrates, the wise philosopher who laid much of the groundwork for Stoic thinking, once said, "I know that I know nothing." That wasn't weakness, it was wisdom. Because true strength doesn't come from pretending to be invincible. It comes from the humility to admit that you're a work in progress, and the courage to keep working anyway. Approach life like a student with a hungry mind. Not someone obsessed with being right, but someone devoted to understanding. Someone who doesn't fear the unknown, but is excited by the opportunity to discover something new. Imagine that student, sitting at the front of the class, leaning forward, eyes wide. Not because they know everything, but because they want to. Their curiosity sets them apart, not their answers, their questions. That mindset, it's the foundation of greatness. Because the best aren't those who claim to have arrived. The best are the ones who never stop exploring. Imagine an explorer setting foot in a wild, untamed land. They're not guided by certainty. They're guided by the courage to find out. That's the Stoic spirit. A commitment to continuous improvement. A refusal to stagnate. So when you act as if you're already the best, you're not performing. You're practicing. Every day you're sharpening your tools, showing up with an open mind, learning from failure, leaning into feedback, turning even your struggles into teachers. Because every time you stumble but choose to learn, you reinforce your resilience. Every setback becomes another stone under your feet, raising you higher than before. That's the beauty of the Stoic mindset. It transforms failure into fuel. What most people see as an obstacle, you learn to see as opportunity. The trials that test your patience, that challenge your strength, that shake your confidence, those are your instructors. They're the fires that refine, not destroy. So ask yourself today, what can I learn from this moment? What truth is waiting to be revealed in this struggle? When you ask the right questions, life becomes a teacher. Each moment holds a spark of wisdom, if you meet it with curiosity instead of fear. And this is what separates those who remain stuck from those who rise, a mindset that stays humble, even while growing. Because mastery, the Stoics remind us, is not a trophy to be won. It's a path, a winding, evolving journey of becoming. It's not about knowing everything, it's about remaining a student of life, committed to the pursuit of becoming better with every step. And here's a powerful question to reflect on. What story are you telling the world through your actions? Because every day, with every decision, you're writing your story. You're either saying, I'm afraid, or I'm here to grow. You're either whispering, I hope I'm enough, or declaring, I know my path. Your posture, your habits, your energy, they all speak louder than words. If you act timidly, the world will assume you don't believe in your value. But if you act boldly, with quiet confidence and grounded intention, you tell the world something entirely different. I know who I am becoming. I may not be there yet, but I'm walking with purpose. I may not have certainty, but I have conviction. Life is a grand stage, but here's the twist. You're not just the actor. You're the playwright. You write the script. You direct the story. And only you decide how this chapter ends. So the next time you step into the unknown, don't wait for permission. Don't wait for clarity. Don't wait until you feel ready. Instead, act as if you are already becoming, because every action you take from that mindset pushes you one step closer to your highest self. So the question stands, will you play your role, or will you step forward with quiet conviction, embodying the character you were born to become? The Stoics wouldn't tell you to fake confidence or scream your potential into the world. They'd tell you to act, to let your life be the message, to let your actions whisper the truth louder than any declaration ever could. To the Stoics, boldness wasn't reckless. It wasn't about noise or bravado. It was thoughtful. It was disciplined. It was courage, measured and directed like a sharpened blade. They believed that every single moment, no matter how ordinary, was a chance to define who you are becoming, not through some dramatic scene, but through deliberate, quiet, consistent deeds. Picture a stage actor. Opening night, they tremble. Lines stick to their tongue, nerves shoot through their spine. But with each performance, something shifts. They grow into the role. They begin to own the stage. Until one day they are no longer playing the character, they are the character. And so it is with life. Each day you are rehearsing the person you are becoming. You're refining your presence. You're learning your lines through experience and repetition. And with time you begin to command your stage, your life with natural ease. The Stoics saw this clearly. Destiny isn't a gift, it's a creation, forged one intentional act at a time. There is power in repetition. This is why Stoics like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca practiced daily reflection, why they returned to their journals again and again. Because they understood something that modern science has now confirmed. Your habits shape your brain. Modern psychologists echo this. Every time you choose to act with courage, to speak with integrity, to carry yourself with confidence, you're not just pretending. You're building neural pathways, strengthening mental habits, forging a new identity. It's like planting seeds in a garden. At first, nothing appears to change. The surface of the soil remains still. But underground, roots are spreading. Nutrients are forming connections. The invisible groundwork is being laid. And then one day, a sprout emerges. Small, but undeniable. That sprout becomes growth. That growth becomes strength. That strength becomes a garden, flourishing not from impulse, but from consistent nurture. So don't underestimate the power of small daily actions. You may not feel different after one brave choice, but every drop you add to the jar, every stroke of discipline, every act of courage, compounds. Picture the artist, brush in hand. At first the lines are shaky, the canvas is messy, but day after day, stroke by stroke, the art comes alive. It takes on depth, it begins to speak. This is mastery, not an explosion of talent, but the quiet result of thousands of imperfect actions, each one teaching, refining, shaping. When you act as if you are the best, you train your mind to see beyond limitations. You start spotting possibility where others only see obstacles. Not because you're delusional, but because your mindset has become solution-oriented, rather than fear-driven. Think of the stonecutter. Strike after strike, the rock seems unchanged. It resists. Until one final blow, seemingly no different than the rest, splits the stone in two. It wasn't that last strike alone that did it. It was the accumulation of every strike that came before. That's why the Stoics built routines. That's why they made reflection a part of their identity. Whether it was meditating in the early hours or writing by candlelight at day's end, they knew that daily rituals were not small things. They were anchors. They were compasses, guiding their thoughts back to their highest values. These practices helped them course correct, to stay aligned with their virtue, even when the world around them became chaotic. That's the truth. The grand transformations don't happen in a flash of glory. They're born in the quiet, consistent rhythm of daily integrity. So why wait to feel ready? Why postpone purpose? The Stoics would tell you, there is no perfect day, no ideal version of you waiting to arrive. There is only today, this moment, and the choice you make right now. The Stoics never waited for perfect conditions. They didn't wait for the skies to clear before taking action. They believed that life unfolds best not in certainty, but in motion. Seneca once wrote, "Life is long if you know how to use it." But most don't. They wait, for clarity, for permission, for the perfect moment. But here's the truth. That perfect moment is a myth. It's a mirage in the desert of indecision, a comforting illusion crafted by fear and hesitation. And worst of all, it keeps us stagnant, paused in life, paralyzed in motion. The Stoics saw through this illusion. They knew that not the one who waits for perfection, because perfection rarely arrives. Think of the artist standing before a blank canvas. Do they sit in silence, hoping inspiration will strike like lightning? No, they pick up the brush. They move with intent. They trust the process. Stroke by imperfect stroke, the painting begins to form. Not because every line is flawless, but because creation happens through doing. Every hesitant stroke adds dimension. Every bold movement adds expression. And soon, what was once hesitation transforms into a masterpiece in motion. The artist knows a deeper truth. If you wait too long for ideal conditions, you miss the magic of creation itself. Now picture a mountaineer standing at the base of a steep, uncertain trail. Do they wait for perfect weather or flawless maps? No, they begin the climb, one step at a time, one breath at a time. They trust in their preparation. They lean into their resilience, because they know confidence is not found at the summit. It is built with every step. This is the essence of Stoic thought, to take action in the face of uncertainty, not recklessly, but deliberately, not waiting for life to offer clarity, but creating clarity through movement. The Stoics would remind us, life won't hand you a roadmap. It offers something far more valuable, challenges, opportunities dressed in difficulty, lessons hidden within discomfort. And how you respond to these challenges determines who you become. So ask yourself, how will you choose to act today? Will you wait for confidence to show up like a guest you didn't invite? Or will you craft it, moment by moment, through action? Confidence isn't reserved for the lucky few. It's not a talent, it's a muscle. And like any muscle, it strengthens with use, through deliberate repetition, through effort and intention. Imagine a potter at their wheel, hands steady, clay spinning. At first, the shape is unclear, but slowly, through consistent adjustments, the form begins to appear. Each motion brings it closer to completion. It's not magic, it's practice, it's transformation. That's what acting as if means. Not pretending, but participating in your own becoming. Take a deep breath, stand up, and act like the person you aspire to be. Not someday, right now. Because the truth is, that person already exists within you. You don't need to become someone new. You simply need to chisel away at what no longer serves you. Picture a sculptor before a block of marble. To the untrained eye, it's just a rock. But the sculptor sees potential. Each strike of the chisel brings the hidden figure into the light. Each blow removes what doesn't belong, until finally the form is revealed. That's what your life is, a work of art. Not created in one dramatic moment, but revealed, one deliberate act at a time. Now, imagine standing at the edge of your own future. It's vast, unshaped, it feels overwhelming, even paralyzing. But here's the truth. Every action, no matter how small, brings definition. The world won't pause for you to feel ready. So why should you? This moment right here is the only certainty you have. Not tomorrow, not next year. Now. So don't remain still, staring at the blank canvas of your life. Pick up the brush, make the first stroke, and then the next, and the next. Because no one else can paint the masterpiece that is your story. Life isn't a rehearsal. It's not something you get to practice and perfect. It's a live performance, unfolding in real time. And each bold, imperfect stroke adds to the depth, the emotion, and the meaning. Let go of the need for flawless execution. Let go of the illusion that the perfect moment is coming. Instead, lean into this moment, with all its uncertainty, its messiness, its rawness, and act with purpose. Act as if you are already the person you were meant to be, because in truth, you are. You just have to let the world see it, one act at a time. Welcome the uncertainty, not as something to fear, but as a sacred invitation to grow. For it is within uncertainty that true transformation begins. Not in the calm, not in the predictable, but in the moments when your heart races, your palms sweat, and you step forward anyway. That's when growth happens. Trust this. Becoming the person you were always destined to be. It may not feel like a leap, but even the tiniest movements forward are progress. Imagine an artist at work, blending color on a once blank canvas. Some hues are bold and vibrant. Others are soft, quiet, even shadowed. Yet together, they form something breathtaking. That's life. It's not about waiting for inspiration to strike. It's about showing up, consistently, deliberately, bravely, and daring to create anyway. Even when you feel unsure, even when the strokes feel awkward or messy, because the act of creation is the masterpiece. You build something extraordinary by moving through the ordinary, one brushstroke at a time, one choice at a time, one decision to act despite fear at a time. So today, take that step, not because you're fearless, but because you're ready to stop letting fear call the shots. Step forward, even if your voice shakes, even if your hands tremble. Even if the path ahead looks foggy and unsure, because with each move you make, you're not just painting your own life, you're inviting others to paint theirs. You become a mirror, a guide, a living example that action breeds progress, and progress is always more powerful than perfection. Watch closely as your own masterpiece begins to unfold, not in one grand moment, but in thousands of quiet, courageous choices. Each deliberate act becomes a thread, woven into the greater tapestry of your existence, a story not just lived, but intentionally shaped. And then something beautiful happens. Others notice. They see your movement, your conviction, your refusal to wait, and it sparks something in them. Your boldness becomes permission for others to rise. Each move you make, each risk you take, each time you show up despite the fear, you become a living reminder that greatness isn't something you wait for, it's something you build. So be that one. In a world full of hesitation and doubt, be the one who dares to act. Be the one who moves, who creates, who steps forward when no one else does. Because that ripple of action doesn't stop with you. It expands, inspires, and empowers. Together we begin to build something larger than ourselves, a collective masterpiece made of 1,000 individual moments of bravery, one person acting with intention, then another, and another, until we're all creating something extraordinary, not in isolation, but side by side. Each brushstroke influenced by the boldness of those who chose to begin. And so let this be your moment. The moment you stop waiting, the moment you pick up the brush, the moment you say, I will act, not someday, but today. Because everything changes when you do. This is your masterpiece in motion. And you're not just